Hi guys and welcome to the 40k Empress show with me, Gary, and of course Kid is here joining me once again so we can talk about Cadia and some of the newest news about what the heck is happening there. There's a new book coming and we're just going to give you some cool info and just hopefully an interesting conversation for you guys. So Kid, take it away. What's happening?
Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me back on. My name's Kit from Chicago Reacts. And first, I believe in not spoiling too much, as this book is available to purchase, make your pre-orders happen. But it is titled Creed. No, not the tactical genius Creed that we all know, who disappeared during the valiant stand of Cadia, because after all, the guard stood while the planet broke. But Cadia still stands, and Creed, his daughter, Ursula Creed, is sent on a mission by the desk of Reboot Gilliman himself to visit the charred and shattered remains of the once proud and mighty fortress world that stood against the 12 Black Crusades from Lord Abaddon. Yes, Phaladon. Anyways, the 13th Black Crusade was the one that finally destroyed the mighty fortress world. And this new book is out, and it's kind of giving an insight to a new character that, well, I mean, she's not that new, but to a character that is coming out of the shadow of a well-known and established character, Ursula E. Creed. For those who don't know, is the Lord Castellan of the planet Cadia. And he was by far the most brilliant tactical mind who faced off against the Imperium's greatest enemies, most notably the forces of chaos. And this book kind of shows the mindset of what happened or what's going on with the mindset of the people from Cadia. Now, I don't want to spoil too much because, look, I believe in supporting intellectual properties. I believe in supporting, books that will help out the fandom and so much more. So I don't want to spoil too much. But what we are seeing is the people of Cadia, or at least the remnants, or at least this one small pocket of people from Cadia, who are still coming to terms with the loss of their planet, even though it's decades since passed. I mean, this was a devastating blow. I mean, Cadia was the fortress world. It was the model for every other planet to follow, including the realm of Ultramar. Cadia was that spot because it was the first line of defense, and with its destruction, it sent a shockwave across the Imperium and also divided the Imperium as well, no pun intended, because you have the Dark Imperium on the other side of the Citrix Maladam, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and then you have the other side that still has the Golden Throne. So we were seeing Ursula trying to come to terms with who her father was, who she is, and this mission to visit Cadia. And the thing is, you see different characters there. I don't want to name too many names, but you have a medic who's part of the Penal Legion, who's dealing with survivor's guilt. You have some, one-off characters that are just more of a standard Imperial kind of character that aren't too inspiring, but they do add to the story because it's overall everyone's playing off each other, and it does lead to the question of what does this mean for the future of the Imperium and the people of Cadia, because they don't have a homeworld. And if anything, if I was Lord Commander of the Imperium, I would at least want the Cadian people to live on, as they were the most militant, most disciplined people, and all of their regiments have been seen battles across the Warhammer 40k universe, from against the Tyranids, Necrons, Tau, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Orcs, Chaos. And hindsight is 2020. You want to see this population continue on. You don't want to see them die off. But Gilman's dealing with all of his own problems as well. But the book, written by Jude Reed, there's battle, there's battles, there's blood, there's action that will, I think, satisfy any diehard Warhammer 40k fan. So that, because you mentioned earlier, like, there's some new news, and this is the book Creed: Ashes of Cadia by Jude Reed. So I for one am excited about it and the potentials that it can lead to. Some of the spoilers that I had a chance to read, because I pre-ordered the book because I want to see more of it, but I couldn't help but spoil myself. It has me wanting to know more. But I think in order of us to know more about the future or what lies in store for Cadia, I think we should delve to the past. But if you have any questions, let's go ahead and take it to you because this is your show.
Oh, well, I wondered like what the heck could happen, you know? Where do we go from here? And I watched Pariah Nexus. Have you seen Pariah Nexus, all 3 episodes?
I have not had the opportunity. I've been swamped with a lot of work, unfortunately.
Oh, because there's one particular Cadian Astra Militarum, a female one, and I was like, what? I mean, people in the comments they told me that she's from Cadia, and I'm like, why would she be from Cadia? Aren't they all like dead, gone? But no, they said that they're not, and I'm like, what? When did that happen? So I really had no idea, and I don't want to spoil the rest because it's absolutely amazing. This show actually the best that W, the Jaja W, the Jar Jar Binks of fantasy. Yeah, I'm just putting the book on screen in the meantime. So,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, I was just very surprised basically, and people can recognize the Cadians because they wear a particular set of armor. They have some distinguishing elements on them, I guess, and their eyes are
The purple eyes.
I
Yes,
didn't
their
know
eyes.
that at all. But then I read that some of them had it, some of them didn't have it. And I literally thought that that was like a warp thing. Because actually it is. Because when the rift happened, whoever like looked at it or something like that got this effect on the eyes, this color. So yeah, there's actually, I mean, I wasn't actually that wrong.
Well, it does show a lot about the willpower of the people from Cadia. I mean, if we could go a little bit, maybe not deviate too much away, but the people of Cadia have been exposed to the Eye of Terror for centuries, and for a long time they had to deal with the 12 Black Crusades, including the 13th Black Crusade, and throughout that, we're all familiar with the grim, dark environment of Warhammer 40k. You can't look me in the eyes and say that the population of Cadia wasn't affected in any which way by fighting against elements of the warp, the forces of chaos, the demons, the psychers that are all there. And so when the planet actually broke, I always found it interesting that the people never succumbed to chaos like right away, because any other world, half the population would mutate or become heretics. It would be swarming with demons, or maybe, heaven forbid, emperor forbid, a demon Primarch walking the lands. And it says like the influence the emperor has had over the people of Cadia, and why they are the standard to follow. And on the world, yes, Ursula and her team do land on it because they're on the planet, the remnants of Creed. I just had a question though. If a planet's been broken, how does it maintain itself? And I know Warhammer 40k has that fantasy element where, oh, that's why there's an atmosphere, or maybe that's why it's still somewhat the fiction is a little bit out there. And within the interview by Jude Reed, she talks about how this was a huge pressure for her to actually write about the Creed family and the legacy of being the daughter of the most well-known Imperial commander, that's Ursula Creed, and how the author is trying to say like, hey, this is this character and this is their struggle, and how to be able to stand on your own. Because let's be clear, Ursula E. Creed is the overall greatest commander, human commander, save for the Astartes, that has won victories through his own tactical genius. And the running meme is like the Imperial Guard, they're paper soldiers, they're gonna get stepped on and then come in the Space Marines for the rescue. But Cadia was always different. They held their ground and they won against overwhelming odds. And side note, I'm actually, that's why I'm a fan of playing the Imperial Guard, especially for Warhammer Dark Crusade when I have time, because I could relate more to these Imperial soldiers facing off against monumental odds and still winning. It says a lot about the human spirit. And I hope that as time does progress, we see maybe just more engagement or more investment into the Imperial Guard and seeing what these normal people are doing in a galaxy that clearly has them on the menu.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I'm very impressed by the Cadian spirit and just the sheer willpower.
Mhm.
It's amazing, really. Dedication that you just cannot get uh, out of thin air. Astartes also have that, but when it's someone without any power, it's a lot more commendable and impressive, of course, if they can stand their ground. Yeah.
Y- Well, and let's actually I think it's important for us to pull up a video too, because in case people don't know about Cadia, if there's new people watching your channel and they might not be unfamiliar about Cadia, there's a video from the Templeton Institute. We can just play like a few short minutes about it, because I think there's like a little bit of a good, decent breakdown about what that world represented to the Imperium, and overall why there needs to be a future for Cadia. I mean, the book, there's some thoughts in it here and there about the future of Cadia, the legacy of regiments and commanders that came before the other characters, and I view it as a future and potential storytelling that can really show the human mindset in this galaxy. Because my own personal opinion, when I first heard about the fall of Cadia, what I wanted to see, or at least hope to see, was, okay, Cadia's been destroyed, but these people from Cadia are the best we got. We need to find a new system to colonize and rebuild Cadia so that we can have these outstanding units again, and send them off to fight and die for the Emperor. I mean, that's what I do hope, and I hope we do get there. But then again, there's always that conflict, because Gilliman, I bet he wants to go back to Ultramar and rebuild his own empire, rebuild the 500 worlds, but he can't, because he has to focus on the greater Imperium as a whole. He just can't focus on one group of people or one system or one empire. He has to focus on the whole thing. And the people of Cadia, as much as they want to have a new world, many of them are still separate in different conflict zones. They just can't all just leave these war zones and rebuild their planet. The Tyranids are invading, and that's something else that's happening too. The onslaught and threats of the Tyranids, and the threat that they pose, chaos, etc.
I just can't imagine how the planet is whole at all. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not. How does it exist? Because we do know that if something happened even a little bit, the whole planet could be. I mean, the whole life on the planet could be totally destroyed. Even if like a huge earthquake or one little meteor or whatever, let alone the planet to be split in two or something like that. What happened to Cadia? So I have no idea how they are explaining this. But yeah, you can, I mean, we can see the video right now, if you wish.
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and pull it up. It'll be a little bit fun video for everyone to check out. Some little delicious eye candy.
Yeah. Okay, let's see it.
In the region of imperial space designated Segmentum Obscurus, there lies an anomaly that has come to be known as the Eye of Terror. It is an enormous rift, a permanent storm in the fabric of reality that for 11,000 years has provided a gateway to the nightmarish realm of the warp. Inside is a dimension of madness and despair, where skies weep blood, ancient stars burn in multicolored flares, and the whims of the dark gods hold sway. Since the time of the Horus Heresy, the forces of chaos that reside within have attempted to break out from the Eye of Terror and strike at the millions of worlds that lay beyond. Only one thing has stood in their path: a fortress world that guarded the only navigable route to the Eye of Terror, a place where time and time again the servants of the dark gods would break against the greatest defenders of man. It was a planet known as Cadia, and it was here above all that the bloody work of the Imperium was done. A terrestrial world closely resembling Holy Terra before the age of the Imperium, Cadia was marked by great oceans, temperate plains, windswept moors, and towering mountains. Cadia was colder than most civilized worlds, yet not enough to impede the planet's settlement. It was famous across the galaxy for its sparkling glaciers and thick pine forests. It was the planet's network of strange black monoliths that remained Cadia's most enduring mystery, however, known across the galaxy as the Cadian pylons. When precisely Cadia was first colonized has been lost to antiquity, but in the decades before the Horus Heresy, it had become inhabited by a primitive race of violet-eyed humans who worshipped the Chaos Gods. The Word-Bearers Legion
Real quick. So
Yeah.
I'm reading the new book, no spoilers still. And there's something about pylons and Belisarius' goal that, have to make them. So that's interesting, and I was trying to find out what are they about, but they're very mysterious ancient artifacts that do something, but still not sure what exactly.
When we talk about the pylons, because there were a lot of them on Cadia, and at least apparently throughout all the 12 other crusades, I guess that was Abaddon's mission to destroy them so that the Eye of Terror can be turned into the Rift and systematically, cause Chaos to have an overwhelming victory. And at least as it stands, because Warhammer 40k can change after all, I recently bought the whole new edition of Dark Imperium, where originally it was set up where the crusade that Gilliman was doing was wrapping up, and now it's been rewritten where his crusade is still ongoing. But the overall idea of the pylons was something that the Necrons, or possibly the old ones, Necrons, were involved in, and their purpose is to hold back psychic energy. And if that's the case, well, on the one hand, hey, Necrons, let's form a peace alliance. But on the other hand, too, if it's going to stop warp energy, who else uses warp energy? Psychers, the Imperium. That's kind of needed for a lot of things, such as telepathic communication. Oh, I don't know, maybe the Golden Throne could be affected as well, because since the Rift happened, maybe Abaddon wasn't thinking about it too much, especially with the fall of Cadia, but there's a couple of things that can play out. Number one, what's clear is the faith within the Emperor has grown exponentially to where normal people are doing extraordinary amounts of miracles, because the Emperor is guiding them, but also the Emperor has been growing in strength too, because people are believing him, because he's a deity in the warp, and I like to think that he's somewhat on our side. I don't like this whole idea of the Emperor just becoming this evil parasitic monster, or he's trying to destroy us. I mean, yes, he's done terrible things, but I still believe in the Emperor, okay? I still believe in him. But
you
I
guess
still
guess we don't have a lot of choice here.
I still believe. I still believe in the mission. That's all. I still believe in him. And then, of course, if that rift is to close up, I mean, that could really hurt the Imperium. And the Necrons, they have their own goal. And I think the Necrons, especially with their involvement, they didn't want to see Cadia fall, because if Cadia fell, more of the warp entities come in, and that's going to halt their objective of rebuilding their empire. So it is rather fascinating, because if there is a weapon that the Imperium can use, especially when it comes down to dealing with the warp, I'm willing to bet the Necrons and the Silent King, who has made his return, are going to have a role to play. And if for those of you who don't know, the Silent King has within his possession a death mask of Sanguinius. And that has led many to wonder, well, how did he get that? Did him and Sanguinius ever meet? How would he know that? Because there was a confrontation between the Blood Angels and the Necrons, where they had to form an alliance to stop a Tyranid invasion. So it's just a little bit off subject, but thought we'd bring that little morsel of Warhammer 40k lore into this War for Cadia and the legacy of its destruction and what it means to the greater community, because that was a huge turn. I think, well, in 2020 is when they made the announcement that Cadia fell, which was, I wasn't prepared for that. I was not ready for that.
Yeah, there was a huge deal. I got into Warhammer 40k like in 2021. So by that time I had to catch up with so many things, and all of a sudden I finally reached the part where it was about Cadia, and I was like, what's Cadia? What's happening here? And I had to catch up real quick. So now I'm also very curious about Belisarius' goal and why does he need the pylons and stuff. Don't want to say anything else though.
Yes, no spoilers. But again, with Belisarius Caldo, I'm actually, like I said, there's no such thing as a good person in Warhammer 40K, but I am ever hopeful that he could usher in a new renaissance within the Mechanicus. Even though he has his own deeds, be they nefarious or good, I think if he was made the new Fabricator General, or if that does happen, we could see a new innovation for the Imperium, because they have to innovate. There's no excuse. You just can't say, oh, we can't invent anything because it's already been invented. No, it hasn't. I hope we do see that, because the Imperium's got to get out of the stagnation and dogma with technology, and hopefully the cogheads will change. I hope that does happen. I would love to see the cogheads just decide to build things and invent, and not just let religion and dogma rule over them. But then they wouldn't be the Mechanicus if they didn't have that.
Yeah, and there's something about that along those lines with the new book. So yeah, I'm interested to finish it. I'm like almost in the middle of it. It's 10 hours. So there's a lot of Belisarius Cole, and it's so interesting when he speaks about anything really, and his interactions with other characters is very fascinating. So yeah, and I need to learn more about the other guy as well. I always forget his name. Help me. Help me, Biff, you're my only hope. Javi's bio.
Yes.
The book is about those two. So it's very interesting because they're very similar.
When you look at characters, especially now with this new wave of innovation, I think new storytelling for 40K, that you need to have, I think, further engagement, because for a long time Warhammer 40K was just stagnant, like, oh, we don't know what will happen. Like, the story was just as it is until all this new stuff came up. And you know, it's one thing that we are witnessing the return of a Primarch, not one but two, including Chaos Primarchs. But this all happened with the shattering event of Cadia, and what it means to the community. Because even if you're not a fan of playing the Imperium, whether you are a Chaos player, Necron player, Tyranid, Orc, Tau, Eldar, Dark Eldar, whatever, Cadia being destroyed shakes up everything. And it's in everyone's interest to really know, okay, well, what else is there in Cadia? Because it's been ignored for a while. And yes, there has to be an expeditionary fleet to visit the world. And when Ursula goes there, I mean, that's the ghost of the past. That's her homeworld. That's the planet in which her family is there, and was the Imperium's most devastating defeat by the forces of chaos. The fact that the world still remains, and there might be, I don't know, more secrets there than originally thought. It is a treasure trove of storytelling, and I could imagine, because let's face it, Games Workshop is a company at the end of the day. It is in their interest to keep that location alive. I mean, you can make games, board games, video games, books, more books about it, various factions visiting Cadia, because I'm pretty sure that there can always be that extra morsel of storytelling, and also what it means for the greater environment of Warhammer 40K. Because if the Imperium doesn't get its act together, every world is going to end up like Cadia, be it broken apart or infested with foul creatures that want to destroy us. Simple humans, and we must rely on our glorious overlord to save us. Yes, I still believe in the Emperor. I'm sorry, I still do. I believe in his mission. Can't change my mind. I refuse to change.
Well, I mean, in a way, I'm also believing in his mission, but the difference is that I don't believe that the mission is the perfect outcome for humanity. It's just what we are stuck with because we don't have anything else, anything better. But I don't believe that humanity is going to rise and become this awesome, loving community, and everybody are going to be good and healthy and not gonna suffer miserably and all of that. I don't think that that's gonna happen. So overall, I would give the reins to Gilliman, because at least people in his domain and his region of the universe, they're better. As long as I know, they're doing better. They're not suffering as much, actually.
Well, when we look at Cadia too, before its destruction, what I found interesting about it as a militant fortress world is, it still had some of its environment because normally in 40K, any kind of hive city or fortress world is industrialized. Of course, Cadia is industrialized, and there's many cities, but it's always a toxic waste dump. There's always a lot of toxicity. There's a lot of waste. There's a lot of pollution, and Cadia, for the most part, kept its ecosystem around. So it's sort of like one of the many worlds in Ultramar, where the Ultramarines and Gilliman and his overall legacy in the 500 worlds was, yes, we could turn these worlds productive. We just don't have to turn them into one big dump site, which is incredible because normally the standard norm for any kind of hive world is a grim, bleak, unpleasant place to live. And I'm not saying Ultramar or Cadia during its time were the best places to live in the Warhammer 40K universe. Could have been worse, but Cadia not being part of Ultramar, it shows that, you know, you didn't need a Primarch or Space Marines to improve the livelihoods. Like, we as humans could do that on our own. And it really says another thing too, which I can't believe I forgot. Good thing I caught myself. Here's something that really stands out about the people of Cadia. They were able to be self-sufficient and on their own and hold the line and not have, and of course, yes, the Inquisition probably visited the Grey Knights, you know, Space Marines, Sisters of Battle, etc. But the regular humans were running the damn show at the Eye of Terror. They were the ones holding the light. And maybe the people of Cadia are built differently, which again goes into the mindset of, okay, we need to make sure this population still stays alive because, yes, everyone's susceptible to chaos, but they're so resilient. They were the ones who held the line. They were the ones that kept the discipline. They held Cadia from not one, but 12 Black Crusades. And the 13th one, most devastating, but they still held as the planet broke, which says a lot about the will of the person. They weren't genetically engineered super soldiers. They weren't infused with the power of chaos. They're not orcs. They're not Necrons. They're not Eldar or Dark Eldar. They're not Tyranids. They were just regular people who held, fought, and kept their pride. And it's one of those rare moments where 40K Games Workshop gives a little love to humanity and shows that we are resilient and that there was a time before the Emperor. Because as much as I'm a fan of him, you know, there's been this overall theme for the most part in Games Workshop Warhammer, and that is, oh, the humans are in trouble, they screwed up, send in the super soldiers or this souped up psyker or something to end the chaos. And it's good to see us little people, the little humans, just win the day.
Yeah.
Or at least as best as we can.
Absolutely. Cadia, the new book, are you going to read it? Are you interested? Let us know. And it is fascinating, guys. Kid?
Thank you all so much for having me on. As always, you're doing great work, loving your contribution to the Warhammer 40K community, your reviews, and so much more. And as always, folks, please be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that ring bell notification. It's the right thing to do, so do it right away. Come on, what's stopping you? What's stopping you doing that? Do that right now.
Or the Emperor is going to come to your house. And
knocking on the door.
And do some war powers on you.
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay, so love you guys. Until next time, with me, Gary, the 40K Empress. And of course, if you'd like to support me, check the links down below. OnlyFans, where I provide all of my coaching services and my own physique updates if you want me to help you with everything that has to do with relationships, life coaching, and fitness. And my puppy here wants to be included in the video. He's very pushy. And yeah, tell us everything that you want to tell us about Cadia. Love you guys. Bye bye. This video is sponsored by my OnlyFans, where I do my meaningful sex educational content, fitness, health, nutrition, relationship advice, and more.